Okay, we got to do some more word work. I have been strung out preparing for yesterday's event, so I've missed a couple of live videos. But every day that I missed, I kept thinking about the scripture that says, "The kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force." Couldn't lose it, and I was thinking about it in the context of becoming, and I kept, because I was busy and I just didn't have the brain space to stop and do a video. I realized, or I kept thinking about the fact that it didn't make sense. Like, it didn't feel like something that was doctrinally correct. I didn't want to twist the message of that scripture, but I kept kind of warring with myself every day about that verse and the idea of being violent in order to become. And what I was thinking when I was trying to convince myself that it made sense to share in some kind of revelatory context, not necessarily like pure doctrine, right? I was thinking that we needed to tap into the spirit of the meaning of the word violence, and that becoming, if you're going to commit to your development and you are answering the question, who do you need to become, that it was going to require violence from you. So crazy long day today, and I was tempted, because I was already in the pattern, to not record, but the violent word came back. So I thought, okay, this is another opportunity to do some word work, and I looked it up, and so I can't believe it. So it's on my computer, so I'm going to read it for you. So I looked up the concordance meanings of the word violence and violent. Matthew 11:12. It says, this is the King James. I probably need to look it up in the Message translation too. I'm surprised I didn't do it first. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent take it by force. So that scripture by itself, like just reading it, is like, this don't have nothing to do with becoming, right? But it just would not leave me. So looked up the concordance meaning of violence. So it's the Greek word, I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but it is G971, the Greek word. And the meaning of the word is it's a verb that means to force, to press, to act with force. I was like, yes! Or to apply pressure. So it's saying, if the kingdom of heaven is suffering violence, that's this word, is the kingdom of heaven is suffering force, it's being pressed, it's requiring action with force, and it's pressure is being applied to the kingdom, loosely, okay? Don't quote me on all this, but then the word violent, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violent, that's us. It's the word, it's a noun that means violent, strong, or forceful. I was like, okay, this is it. This is why it wouldn't leave me. It refers to a person who uses force, or someone who is eager and forceful in pursuing their goals. Okay, right? So, biblically, it describes those who actively and aggressively pursue the kingdom of heaven. These are the individuals who take it by force, indicating their intense desire and effort to attain spiritual goals. So, if you are going to become everything that God designed you to be, you are going to have to apply some force. You have got to put some pressure on everything that God has put on the inside of you. You have got to forcefully pursue your vision, the things that God has put in your heart to do. You are going to have to press to forcefully approach who you are to become. You can't just sit back passively hoping that one day the Lord is just going to drop down some revelation and all of a sudden it's all going to be clear and you'll know exactly what to do. No, you have got to apply force. The other thing that I was meditating on those all the days I was working on things, I was working on becoming, was the fact that Scripture talks about our warfare is not against flesh and blood, that we are in a war. And it talks about the mind, like you are pulling down strongholds in your mind. It refers to your thoughts. And so really, and even in the Genesis, when it says that we are supposed to take dominion, it tells the Adam and Eve when they were pushed out of the garden, it said, go have dominion. And in our flesh, I think what we do is we will automatically interpret that as go dominate other people. And so I think that the domination is us dominating ourselves in this earth realm, that we are subjecting ourselves to the vision that God has given, because it says without a vision, the people perish, the people cast off restraint. So we can't have restraint. The vision restrains us from doing things that we might ordinarily do because we have a purpose. We have something, some meaning to our lives, something to pursue, and we can't afford to give ourselves the opportunity to get lost in folly, in sin, in all the shortcomings, not being able to control our passions and our appetites. We don't have that luxury. So it made me think, so that taking it by force is you pursuing everything that God designed for you and putting pressure on it so that you can become everything He's intended. Now, I also I heard a message today, and he was talking about this collective, this corporate call and responsibility to disciple nations, and so the emphasis was on that it wasn't about the individual. However, what I felt when I heard that was the individual is important, or you placing attention and energy and pressure and force on who you are to become as an individual created by God. That is required in order for the corporate global church to apply pressure and take the kingdom by force. So without you being in your position, without me being in my position, without us becoming everything God designed us to be individually, we cannot contribute the part that we have been destined to contribute to the body. So you can only become when you decide that you are going to be violent. Hey, Nicole. You have got to be violent and passionate, because it says the kingdom is actively sought after by those who are passionate and resolute in their faith, indicating a need for proactive and vigorous pursuit. So you have to vigorously pursue the purpose of God, the vision of God for your life that He has given you, and you have to apply force to become everything that He has destined. And that force, part of that force is you taking control of the thoughts and winning that war in your own mind. Because I'm learning at this stage in my life season, I'm learning it over and over, but I guess we'll all probably be learning it forever. But at this stage, I'm recognizing how I have sat back hoping and praying because I was worn out from disappointment. So it's hard to be passionate to be violent, to be forceful about the vision after you've gone in the battle and gotten some wounds. So those wounds require some attention. So then it starts becoming more comfortable to just sit back and nurse those wounds rather than bandaging them up and keep it moving and get back in the fight. So that's my exhortation and encouragement for you today is in the V.I.V.I.D model, vision, identity, voice, information, development. Last question is, who do you need to become? And the task that you need to complete is to commit to your development. You cannot commit to your development until you decide that you're going to be violent. That part.